All right, so make this quick. Want it to be 15 minutes. This is a recording of uh, thoughts that should be placed in the open web or public um, as to think. And of course, when we think, we consider. And there's many things we consider, but we want to focus on the basics. So there is many times you'll go through a history course, and you will be looking into America's history. That is really the main reason you're in history. Try not to care about other countries. It's very unimportant. And the reason that this is unimportant is because you live in America. So because you live in America, you want to know what happened within America's history. What are the big hallmarks that we really consider? There is the first being the founding of America. And then the next being essentially, if you can think this far, the freedom of slaves. And so these are very the second is a very big issue to look at, a point to consider. And the reason for that is you have Abraham Lincoln, who is regarded as this great hero, or this great guy who released black people, released slaves out of being slaves. And you really think about it. This is where I want to reference my really good friend, Marcus Wilson. And it was Marcus who first sparked an interest in me, in the sense that he said you need to, and this is sort of the message to send to all the kids sitting in class. And he essentially said you need to consider what was the environment at the time. So, for right off the bat, you have a white guy. And what standard back then, and take it, you need to consider 1960s where slavery ended. We're talking about way before that. And let's think about, let's put the number 80 years. If 80 years, just barely at 1960, we started freeing slaves, how do you think a white man would feel? And how you want to say white man, right? The real way you want to say it is how do you think a white man, like one of those honkies, cornbread, slave owners, and the idea is white people thought it was okay, that it was completely okay to own slaves, and so we have that we considered. So if you're sitting in class and you're talking about slavery, I really would suggest I really would suggest not putting up with that, because later on in life you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, wow, I was pretty much lied to. And this brings us to the next point, which is does America really want slaves to be free? You got to look around and you got to ask yourself, if it was the case where black people were equal, then a long time ago we would have realized that we would have had some sort of transfer of land and wealth and pretty much resources. Because if we were truly sorry you think about it, if we were deeply and truly sorry about owning slaves, we would look back and say, this generation of people worked themselves to essentially to death. And now what we should do, because we apologize, it would be if I was a white guy and I was reasonable and I was had within my backgrounds mechanisms to fix the environment around me. I would definitely say, we need to give black people the right assistance. And you think about that political term, right assistance? Nah, that doesn't cut it. You really need to give black people this sort of if you will, all kinds of opportunities to push forth in life. And granted, you look at the media. What did the media do to the black man? Man, they just ruined him. They made him look out to be like this dog and this sexual creature that couldn't do anything but just rap. That was pretty much it, and be a gangster, a thug. And it's sad. It's sad because we literally said to the black man, you can build all of our stuff, but you will never be like one of us, and we will always view you as beneath us. This is why I go to my point. You look at the license plate in Illinois, and they have a nice, whip it out there, right out there picture of Abraham Lincoln on their license plate. And you really got to think about how people view, the view of that. And people are so proud that, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. It wasn't a man like Abraham Lincoln who freed the slaves. You need to sit back and you need to think about who was the active voice at that time that was trying to free the people. That was Malcolm X. So the real guy, because Malcolm X stood for all of the oppression in the past, the real guy who should be on the license plate for Illinois is Malcolm X. But you can't have that. There will be such an upset. And I want you to consider this. What if Illinois changed their license plate to Malcolm X, which it rightfully should? If they did this, people would start to see, and it comes to a perception of who the real proponent to stand before a voice in our history of tyranny is, and that is Malcolm X. So if it's so easy to produce a license plate, I don't see why it would be so hard just to put Malcolm's face on there. And the reason is because if we did that, we would then have to say, to act like Malcolm, to be upset like Malcolm, this is acceptable. And you have to ask yourself, I really want you to consider the black men and women who literally were scared to death because of fear and the fear of death. And if you're gone and they caught you, they would kill you. And you think about that. That's what you're hearing on the outside. What's on the inside is you have this slave master working your ass off, working you to death. And now you want to consider, is Malcolm justified in how he acted? Yeah, 100%. And he called out Dr. Martin Luther King, and he said Dr. Martin Luther King is, and I think the word is like a misogynist, where you take something serious and you downplay it with Christianity, the book of Christianity. And this is, this is, how do you want to, view the world? Do you want to view the world in the sense that, you want to see Jesus in a place where black kids, black students are in different schools, and you want to preach the word of Jesus? Or do you instead say, we have to change this? You think about how black people feel on the inside, man. Black people just, being black in America essentially means you are enemy number one. And you got to ask yourself, why is this? Why do we have this idea, which would be a perception? And what it really comes down to is whether we can rightly say that to find a amenable solution, meaning to sort of make it okay, and everyone agree that this is okay, or really express how we're feeling. And I think that 100 times out of 100, if you're angry in the inside, you need to express that. I think that's healthy. And so, how should I put this? There are very smart people out there, and this is an important side key, in the sense that if you have any anger in you, any emotion, how that'll express itself is in disease essentially. Man, if you have a feeling of discomfort in you, that's going to stay in you. And you think about going on in life. Well, if you keep on going in life and you have that feeling, what are you going to pull towards you? You know, you're always going to be upset. You're always going to be angry at the world around you. But what if there was a voice of reason that said, this is how we must act? And you saw around you that there was a solution going on? How do you think the black people that Malcolm X stood for would feel? How do you think they would feel? I think they'd look around them and say, America is finally doing what is right for the whole America. Because America, we like to say, is made up of black people, of Mexican people, of Asian people, and then you have your Irish people, and then you have your American people. All of these people make up America. Once we consider the hard worker who essentially erected all of these buildings around us, once we start viewing the world this way, then our history will make more sense. And I want you to really consider it. Why would I say, look at all these statues, look at the White House, everything, look at everything, and really consider how essential was the black man in modern history, in American history.